حي على الفلاح.
What is modern-day Mali was once part of three empires that controlled the trans-Saharan trade. None of these kingdoms had rigid ethnic identities or boundaries. The Ghana Empire was the earliest. It expanded in West Africa until the Almoravids conquered it in 1078. On the upper Niger River, the Mali Empire formed and reached its height in the 1300s. Centers of trade and Islamic learning were Djinn and Timbuktu. Internal intrigue led to the empire's decline and the ultimate rise of the Songhai Empire. The Songhai came from Nigeria and were a West African power under the Mali Empire's rule. The Songhai gradually became independent from the Mali Empire in the late 14th century, but it was during the 9th century Muslim Berber and Tuareg merchants helped to spread the religion of Islam in the region of Mali. Cities including Timbuktu, Gao, and Kano soon became international centers of Islamic learning. The most significant of the Mali kings was Mansa Musa, who expanded Mali's influence over the large Niger city-states of Timbuktu, Gao, and Djenn. Mansa Musa was a devout Muslim who was reported to have built various major mosques throughout the Mali sphere of influence. His golden-laden pilgrimage to Mecca made him a well-known figure in the historical record. Muslims currently make up approximately 95% of the population of Mali. The majority of Muslims in Mali follow the Maliki school of thought. The region where the Mali Empire would emerge appears in some of the earliest accounts about West Africa, which located along the southern fringes of the Ghana Empire. The 11th century account of Al-Bakri mentions the great kingdom of Do along the southern banks of the Niger River, and another kingdom further to its south named Malal. He adds that the king of Malal adopted Islam from a local teacher, took on the name of Al-Muslimani, and renounced the beliefs of his subjects, who remained polytheists. Al-Bakri mentions the conversion of its ruler to Islam. There was a miserable period of drought which came to an end by offering Muslim prayers and ablutions. The empire of Mali arose from the ruins of Ghana Empire. This short account provides a brief background on the diverse social landscape in which Mali emerged. Between the emerging Muslim communities in the cities, such as Djinn, and the largely non-Muslim societies in its hinterland. Archaeological discoveries of terracotta sculptures from Djenn and textiles from the Bandiagara Plateau dated to between the 11th to 15th centuries, in an area dotted with mosques and inscribed stele, attest to the natural diversity of the region. The complementary and at times conflicting accounts about Mali's early history were shaped by the divergent worldviews of both communities and their role in the emergence of Mali. Dr. Nazir Ahmed says, from our perspective, the important element in Mali was that it was Muslim. This fact made it an integral part of the vast Islamic world. Trade and ideas flowed freely between Mali, North Africa, Spain, Egypt, and Arabia. Muslim traders plied the desert with their caravans carrying brass work from Spain, brocades from Egypt, precious stones from India, and returned with gold, salt, cola nuts, and ivory. More important was the flow of ideas and scholars. Africans traveled to Mecca for Hajj and brought back books written in Baghdad, Cairo, and Kairouan. Islamic jurists and ulama were in great demand in the learning centers of Mansa, Timbuktu, Mali, and Ghana. African soldiers were very much a part of Muslim armies in Spain, Egypt, and India. Mali was thus a part of the Islamic mosaic, contributing its wealth and its resources to the prosperity of Asia and Europe alike. Mali is referred to in Arabic as Malal. It was inhabited by Mandinka, who claimed their descendant from Bilal ibn Rabah, companion of the Prophet and the first Muaddin of Islam. Bilali Banuma is the name given to Bilal in the Mandinka language. Islamic influence in Mali from the 7th century onwards is confirmed by the oral traditions, which were the basis for much of the historical evidence in Africa, until present-day scholars discovered the great libraries in Timbuktu and Jen. Muslim historians like Ibn Hisham and Al-Yaqubi, Al-Bakri, and Ibn Khaldun have recorded the penetration of Islam in the Mali region. The initial thrust for political consolidation among the Mandinka tribes came from the discovery of gold in the mines located at Bur. Wealth, a measure of surplus human energy, is a primary engine for political centralization. Only faith, that transcendental element in collective human effort, surpasses wealth in this respect. To protect the caravans that carried gold, local hunter associations were formed. These were loose military groupings directed towards a common goal, namely the protection of trade routes. It was not until the region of Sundiata that the Mandinka forged the political union that gave birth to Mali. Sundiata, who ruled from 1230 to 1255, is known in the Mandinka language as Mari Jata. According to some sources, Sundiata was born into a Muslim family. According to others, such as Ibn Khaldun, he accepted Islam as an adult. The Mandinka were under continuous military pressure from a rival tribe, the Susus. In the year 1230, in a series of military engagements, Sundiata defeated Sumangru, king of the Susus. Following this decisive victory, the kings and chiefs of the Mandinka gathered together and swore their allegiance to Sundiata. Tradition records that Sundiata wore a Muslim dress on this historic occasion. Henceforth, Islam was to provide the universal cohesive force for the Mandinka, transcending their allegiance to tribe and region. The Mali Empire was born. Mansa Uli succeeded his father Sundiata. The word Mansa or Mansu in Mandinka means king. Uli is a local pronunciation for Ali radiallahu anh. Uli extended the borders of Mali in every direction. To the north, he added the important trading centers of Walata and Timbuktu. To the east, he added Gao. To the west, he expanded into Senegal and Gambia, reaching the Atlantic Ocean. Mali thus became the owner of north, south, as well as east-west trade routes and the repository of important centers of learning. After Mansa Uli, Mali went through a period of turbulence over issues of succession. When the turbulence died down, Mansa Musa, perhaps the most able and best known of Mali monarchs, ascended the throne. Musa's ascension to the throne was, like almost everything about him, mysterious. In 1312, Mansa Abu Bakr II, who was his predecessor, abdicated the throne with the intention of sailing around the world. From there, he never came back. This was how Musa Kita, his brother, emerged as the new ruler of this wealthy empire. Globally, Musa Kita, who would later be known as Mansa Musa, was not known on such a scale until he decided to venture out of his territory on a pilgrimage to the holy city of Mecca. Though a devout Muslim, it is generally held that this ruler was extravagant, to say the least. Musa, who was on a religious journey, reportedly couldn't even hide his affluence. Steve Johnson in the Chicago Tribune reported that during the voyage Mansa Musa embarked upon, Musa took 8,000 courtiers, 12,000 slaves, and 100 camels, each carrying 300 pounds of gold. Because of the wealth that Mansa Musa spread, as well as he continued on his journey, it has even been reported that the economy of Egypt suffered a setback that took 12 years to recover after Mansa Musa and his entourage passed through the country. Western scholars, economists, and analysts are of the opinion that there is no accurate way to quantify the emperor's wealth because he ruled Mali when the empire was the largest producer of gold in the world. Musa has been acknowledged to be richer than Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, and Warren Buffett. An associate professor of history at the University of Michigan, Rudolph Ware, stated, "Imagine as much gold as you think a human being could possess and double it. This is the richest guy anyone has ever seen." In addition to his remarkable wealth, Mansa Musa left some notable legacies to the rest of the world and generations unborn as well. In 1325, he returned from his pilgrimage with Arabian scholars and architects. His return has changed the entire history of Islam in Mali, as he funded the construction of schools, mosques, libraries, and universities across the region. It was also during this period that Musa built the Jingu Reber Mosque, a building that was still active more than 5 centuries later. Furthermore, institutions of learning like the Sankore University that had written its name in gold by teaching Quranic sciences, mathematics, general studies, and geometry became more popular with the support of the 14th century Malian ruler. It is argued that by the end of Mansa Musa's reign, the university's library was stocked with books, where it became one of the largest in the world with about 400,000 to 700,000 manuscripts. The library was judged the best in Africa and in the world, second only to the famed Library of Alexandria. It cannot be denied that the history of Islam in Africa and the world at large can never be complete without the mention of Mansa Musa, who dedicated a large share of wealth to the propagation of the religion, both within and beyond the empire of Mali. His memory lives on today, in the hopes that the region of West Africa continues to both hold on to its traditions as well as build itself up for a stronger future of tomorrow. Between 1337, the reign of Mansa Suleiman, who continues the expansion of the Mali Empire and establishes Timbuktu as a center of Islamic scholarship and learning. In 1380, Mali begins to decline after the death of Mansa Suleiman. Internal conflicts, rebellions, and attacks by neighboring states weakened the empire. In 1464, reign of Sunni Ali Ber, founder of the Songhai Empire, would eventually conquer and absorb the Mali Empire. In 1591, the Moroccan invasion of the Songhai Empire marks the end of the Mali Empire and the beginning of the era of European colonialism in West Africa. By 1893, the French appointed a civilian governor of the territory they called Sudan, French Sudan. But active resistance to French rule continued. By 1905, most of the area was under firm French control. French Sudan was administered as part of the Federation of French West Africa and supplied labor to France's colonies on the coast of West Africa. In 1958, the renamed Sudanese Republic obtained complete internal autonomy and joined the French community. In early 1959, the Sudanese Republic and Senegal formed the Federation of Mali. On the 31st March 1960, France agreed to the Federation of Mali, becoming fully independent. On 20th June 1960, the Federation of Mali became an independent country and Modibo Keita became its first president. Still, the popularity of Islam grew rapidly in Mali, as did debates over the correct forms of religious practice and leadership. The 1930s and 1940s saw the growth of another tradition of Islamic thought and practice, one partly influenced by developments in the Middle East and North Africa, as well as the broader Muslim world. This tradition was characterized by a strong urge to reform educational and religious practices, spread the teaching of Arabic and return Islamic practice to its roots in the Quran and Sunnah. The teachings and sayings attributed to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ and his companions, the Salaf al-Salih, pious ancestors, various groups of Muslims in Mali adopted this tradition from the mid-1940s onwards. While followers of different traditions and the French authorities often called them Wahhabists in reference to the religious practice that originated in what is today Saudi Arabia in the 18th century. These Muslims most often describe themselves as Sunnite in French. Today, Mali's religious leaders draw crowds so large that they are the envy of its politicians and celebrities. When a stadium in Bamako, the country's capital and largest city, fills with tens of thousands of people, it is more likely than not to be for a religious rally or a celebration rather than a campaign speech. The legacy of the Mali Empire can still be felt in the region's traditions, languages, and art. The Mandinka language, which was spoken by the empire's ruling class, is spoken by millions of people in West Africa today. The empire's art and architecture, including the famous Great Mosque in Djinn, continue to inspire artists and architects in the region. And the legacy of Mansa Musa and the empire's wealth can still be seen in the many gold artifacts and jewelry produced in West Africa today.